So I've completed my voiceover of the clip about Spanish and deaf culture, sound narrated by Rebecca Fenton. And we're now going to do a diagnostic analysis where I focus on emissions. I've got some other things and little points that I've noticed in there, but mainly emissions and some enrichments. So I'm not sure about the setup at the beginning, which obviously shapes the rest of it. I wasn't sure if she was at school in Spain and then went to England, or was in school in England and then went to Spain in the summer for the summer school. So I was a little bit confused by the actual context and what was being said there. However, I sort of glossed over it and made of it what I could and tried to not influence it. I think it became a bit clearer that it was Spain where she went to school, and then it was England where she came back to and realised she needed the sign. So I think I got around it in a positive way. So I did a strategic, I would call it a mission, because she talks about her brother not understanding why she doesn't want to go to school, but then talks about, as if she says, oh, why don't you come with me? And then I'm sure she signs cousin, but before she was saying brother. So I was a little bit confused. So I was just a strategic mission. I didn't mention the cousin. It might have changed the meaning, but I haven't listened to anyone else's yet. I think there was some places where I could have omitted some information, but I didn't, because BSL obviously bulks things out with some more examples and more things to relate it to, whereas in English it just sounded like it dragged on a little bit. So it was the examples like, oh, the ABC, oh, it's very different, oh, yes, the alphabet, and that section was almost over, and then I stopped, almost created a marker in what I was saying, and then went on to go about the alphabet again. It just seemed a little bit draggy on when the point of it was, what she was signing was, wow, it's really different in many different ways, and I just don't think I really needed to waffle on. But I was so on top of what she was signing with what I was saying that it didn't give me the chance to admit it. If I had just took a step back and my lag time had been that a little bit more, it wouldn't have been like I was getting rid of a load of information, because it would have just been like a natural strategic omission, because it wasn't culturally relevant. The bit when she started talking about France, I was a bit confused as to why she was in France, what she was talking about. So it was a conscious omission, and I took it out. I glossed it quite a lot, like just as if it wasn't there. So I was conscious I was doing it, but it was unstrategic because it wasn't because I didn't think it should be in there, it was because I didn't really get what was being said. So I was conscious of the decision I made, but it was unstrategic in terms of it probably needed to be in there, but that was my own understanding. So we're at the start of the process because I wasn't understanding what was being said. And the end section was unconscious. I wasn't aware that I was doing it. However, it wasn't until in my own mind, I'd understood it and it was all right, but it wasn't until I opened the links where Thaisa had gone through 2 of the sections, and she said that people had been going around to each other's houses I think it was when this had been signed, but Thaisa's interpretation of it said about going around to people's houses and talking about people, whereas I hadn't even seen that. I didn't even see them say that. So obviously I missed that piece of information in what I was saying, and I was just talking about going behind everyone's backs. So I obviously missed a bit of information. So that was unconscious because I wasn't aware of that until I listened to Thaisa's interpretation of it. There was an enrichment. It sort of just happened when they were saying about she'd sort of placed all the deaf people here. She didn't want them knowing her business. And I was like, oh, I don't want Bob and Margaret knowing all my business. So I enriched it with that. That wasn't, obviously it was a conscious decision because I did it, but I didn't think about doing it. It just sort of happened as if it was like a natural story. It's like, oh, Bob and Margaret know my business. I think because they were all placed there, and I just, them, who's them, they, I didn't know, that just sort of happened. Obviously in the story, but obviously then I've enriched it with something that wasn't there, so am I adding information that I shouldn't have added? changing the meaning. I wasn't really sure. I obviously was aware of it when I said it, but I completely forgot about it, and then when it said it, I was like, what? So I realised. So there was quite a few omissions and enrichments and conscious, and there was a few different examples in there, and until I'd looked back at it with the notes of the unconscious from the reading we'd done, I hadn't even thought about them in that much detail. So it was really interesting to look through and look at why I'd done things and what the reasoning behind them was, and realising that there is someone else has done the same before, and there is a reasoning for that, and there's a learning curve in there with that. So that was really interesting. Thank you.